Lesson 91 is on decimal place value. Now we've been talking about decimal place value. Let's just review it one more time. Think about this: hundreds, tens, ones place, and then we have our decimal point. The next is the tenths, then the hundredths, then the thousandths place. So those are the main decimal places that we've been considering is those three to the right of the decimal point: the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths. Let's go ahead and just do some practice problems now, thinking about decimal place value. Look at that number there, 3.790. In practice problem A and B, I want you to tell me in A which digit is in the tenths place, and in B which digit is in the thousandths place. Well, the tenths place, the digit is the 7. The thousandths place has a 0 in it. Just make sure you know the names of those three places. Tenths is the first one to the right of the decimal point, then the hundredths, then the thousandths. Another way to look at it that we've talked about before is just divide by 10 each time. You have 100, divide it by 10, you'd get 10. Divide 10 by 10, you get 1. Divide 1 by 10, you get a tenth. Then divide by 10 again and get a hundredth. Divide by 10 again and you get a thousandth. C and D are just comparison problems. Compare 15.39 and 15.390. Now, just like always on decimal numbers, any 0 to the right of the last non-zero digit, it doesn't change the number. It just changes the way it looks. So those two numbers are the same. See, I can add a 0 on the end over there on the left too. It doesn't change it. That's a special property of decimal numbers. You can add zeros to the right of the last non-zero digit and also on the right of the decimal point. It doesn't work on the left side. It works on the right side. You can just add zeros. It doesn't change the value. Now look at D, 15.39 and 1.539. Well, let's just think about it. On the left, the 1, that's in the tens place. On the right, it's in the ones place. So the number on the left has to be bigger. It's 15. And the other one is 1.5. So we would put a greater than symbol like that. Let's do one more in E. It's just a subtraction problem. I want you to just solve for that problem. Let's just rewrite that problem vertically. 14.25. Now we know we line up the decimal points when we do subtraction or addition. 1.425. Now we can add a 0 on here so that we have something to work with in that thousandths column. We didn't just change 14.25. It still equals 14.25. We just added a 0 on the end, and you can do that. Now let's go ahead and do our subtraction. The first thing we'll need to do is borrow from the hundredths place. So change that to a 4 and bring that over. Now you have 10 thousandths, basically, minus 5 thousandths would give you 5 thousandths. 4 hundredths minus 2 hundredths gives you 2 hundredths. 2 minus 4, you can't do that, so you need to borrow from the ones. Change that to a 3. Now you have 12 tenths minus 4 tenths would give you 8 tenths. And then you have 3 minus 1 is 2, and a 1 there, 12.825. Now we could add back up to check our work. Another good idea here would just to be to estimate on this problem. 14.25, we could round that to 14. 1.425, round that down to 1. 14 minus 1 is 13. We had 12.825. So that number, 12.825, that gives us confidence that that is correct. If we had 12.1 for an answer, then we might want to check our work a little bit more accurately. But since the estimate and our answer are real close, we'll finish there and say that's the answer, 12.825. So just make sure you know the names for those different places. And now that we're working with the thousandths place, You just treat it just like the other places. When you're comparing numbers, when you're doing operations such as subtraction and addition with them, it's the same idea. Okay, well that's all for lesson 91.